There is a hack for the brain, simple, ancient, but incredibly effective. It makes you smarter. No one can manipulate you. And you become the most dangerous person. In your silence. Want to know what it is? Listen until the end. Why is it that some men can enter a room, and the room just falls silent? They don't speak loudly. They don't beg for attention. They're simply present, yet everyone feels it. Why do they never compete and still dominate? It's not because they were born with more. It's because they operate on an entirely different level. And here's the truth. What makes them dangerous isn't brute strength or raw IQ. It's something far deeper, a sharpened mind. Forged through ancient discipline, the kind most people have forgotten. This isn't vague philosophy. It's a real-world strategy. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and Stoic, once wrote, "You become what you give your attention to." That's not a quote to hang on your wall. That's a tactical warning, because if your mind is constantly hijacked by distraction, by noise, emotion, and everything outside your control, then you won't think clearly, you won't move strategically, and you'll never, ever, be truly powerful. But when you learn how to command your own mind, you feel like you've leveled up your intelligence by 50%. You become dangerous, in the best way possible. And it starts right here. Step 1. Stop consuming. Start forging. Seneca, another Stoic master, warned, to be everywhere is to be nowhere. He wasn't just talking about travelers or scholars. He was talking about us. About how we scatter our minds across hundreds of distractions. Today, in a world designed to fragment your focus, your attention is your greatest weapon. Not money, not time, attention. And if you don't protect your attention, someone, or something, will steal it before you even notice. So the question becomes, can you hold your focus? Can you master your thoughts? Because the one who can wins. So how do you reclaim your focus and forge a mind that cuts through chaos like a blade? That's where we're heading next. Make what you learn, or lose it. So now that you've begun protecting your attention, the next step is even more important. What are you doing with what you consume? Because here's the harsh truth. You're not learning when you scroll endlessly. When you watch video after video without thinking. When you take in podcasts, books, quotes, and never pause to make sense of any of it. You're not learning. You're losing focus. Most guys today are drowning in information, but starving for wisdom. They read 10 books, listen to 50 podcasts, watch hours of motivational content. But none of it sticks. None of it shapes them. None of it becomes action. It's all just digital fog. And here's why. Because consumption without reflection is just entertainment dressed as growth. You might feel smarter, but you're actually just becoming more scattered. You're not building your own mind. You're borrowing other people's thoughts, then forgetting them within 24 hours. Ever notice you can't remember what you ate yesterday? It's the same with what you read. Why? Because your mind never engaged with it. It never processed it. It never turned it into something of your own. Here's the shift. You stop collecting ideas. You start making something with them. That's when real intelligence begins. If you read something powerful, write about it. Don't just nod your head and swipe. Reflect. Rewrite. Ask yourself, what does this really mean for me? If you hear an idea that sticks, share it. Say it out loud. Post it. Apply it to your life. If you learn something that challenges you, sit with it. Don't run. Think through it for days if needed. Because creation is organization. It forces your brain to bring order to the chaos, to link ideas, to question what doesn't add up, to clarify meaning, to actually remember what matters. That's what Marcus Aurelius did. He didn't write meditations to impress anyone. He wrote it for himself. He wrote to train his thoughts, to face his own contradictions, to sharpen his philosophy through repetition and reflection. It was his mental gym, his daily battle with himself. He didn't consume more than others. He just transformed what he consumed into a deeper self. That's why his words still echo centuries later. He didn't copy wisdom. He earned it. So the question is, are you just collecting wisdom, or are you forging it into something that's yours in the next chapter? we explore how to transform passive learning into powerful mastery through deliberate practice and mental training. Build wisdom by creating, not just consuming. So what does it actually mean to make something? It's not just writing in a journal. Making is anything that forces your brain to engage. It could be speaking with intention. It could be building a daily routine that actually works. It could be designing a habit system that keeps you grounded. It could be planning your week with clarity, or solving a real-world problem that challenges your mind to stretch. Every time you shift from passive mode to strategy mode, you activate a deeper level of thinking. You stop being a spectator of your own life. You become a strategist. When you build, whether it's a plan, a routine, a system, you're not just being productive. You're training your ability to think clearly. You're moving your mind from scattered information to structured, usable clarity. That's why making beats memorizing. That's why reflection beats reaction. And yes, it's messy. It's vulnerable. You'll second guess yourself. You'll feel behind. You'll realize how much you don't know. But that's the whole point. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content with being thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because real learning doesn't look impressive at first. Real growth makes you stumble, makes you uncomfortable, makes you admit things you thought you'd already figured out. But if you stick with it, that vulnerability becomes strength. That struggle produces clarity. You stop acting smart, and you start becoming smart. Most people miss this. They confuse speed with wisdom. They collect information like trophies, stacking books, podcasts, highlights, but never stopping long enough to ask, what does this really mean to me? They confuse input with intelligence. But intelligence isn't a race. It's not a scoreboard. It's a forge. It needs heat. It needs pressure. It needs practice. And here's the twist. It's not knowing more that makes you powerful. It's understanding less, but understanding it deeply. Every time you create something, instead of mindlessly buying something, every time you build instead of scroll, you are teaching your brain to organize chaos, to see the signal in the noise, to think in clear lines, instead of fragments and fog. This is how you build internal order. This is how your mind becomes a weapon. So next time you learn something new, don't just save it. Shape it. Say it. Apply it. Make it real. Make it yours. In the next part, we'll explore how real intelligence is forged. Not in the moments when everything makes sense, but in the tension of resistance, reflection, and deliberate repetition. Quiet the noise. Command the mind. A mind like that, the kind we've been training, doesn't just survive in a chaotic world. It runs it. Because when the world gets loud, the quiet mind leads. So what's the task now? Stop browsing. Start building. Stop scrolling for the next big idea. And start building your own. Write it. Speak it. Do something with it. Creation is how clarity is born. It's how focus is sharpened. It's how your thoughts stop chasing each other in circles and start moving in one direction, with purpose. In a world filled with digital weapons, endless opinions, and intellectual noise, the most dangerous person is not the loudest. It's the one who creates. The one who thinks clearly and builds from it. The man who makes something real. In a world obsessed with pretending, now comes the next layer of mastery. Silence the inner monologue, because the quality of your thoughts reveals the quality of your mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The things you think about show what kind of mind you have." So let's ask, what's playing in your mind right now? Is it judgment, worry, resentment, self-doubt? If it's just mental noise bouncing from one emotion to the next, you're not thinking clearly. You're being pulled around by an outdated operating system. And here's the part no one tells you. Most men, they think that mental noise is normal. They think a storm inside is part of being ambitious, driven, thinking deeply. But it's not. That's not deep thought. That's emotional static. And it's destroying their clarity from the inside out. A smarter mind is not louder, it's quieter. It doesn't overreact to every trigger. It doesn't argue with shadows. It doesn't obsess over what ifs or what was. It watches. It selects. It responds with control. Want to build this kind of mind? Start with stillness. Sit in silence, even 5 minutes. Not to empty your brain, but to watch it. Notice your thoughts, then let them pass, like clouds. Don't grab, don't fight. Just observe. This is mindfulness. And this practice is not soft. It's strategic. It's what makes the difference between the man who is volatile and reactive, and the one who is stable and precise. Because here's what happens when men don't do this. They spiral. They think the same useless thought 50 different ways. They argue with imagined enemies, replay dead conversations, doubt themselves into inaction. They don't even need outside pressure. Their own thoughts are their most powerful obstacle. Epictetus put it best. It's not things that disturb us, it's our judgments about those things. Getting cut off in traffic doesn't make you mad. Thinking you were disrespected does. Being ignored doesn't cause rage. Believing you deserve more does. Self-doubt doesn't kill your project. Believing the thought that you're not enough does. These reactions, they don't come from truth. They come from runaway thoughts, from inner dialogue left unchecked. So the mission now is simple. Watch your mind. Don't obey every thought. Separate what's happening from what your mind is saying about it. Because the man who learns to watch his thoughts without being trapped by them, becomes immune to the storms that take others down. In the next chapter, we'll explore how the disciplined mind doesn't suppress emotion, it commands it, trains it, and wields it with precision like a sharpened tool. Command the inner world, or be controlled by it. Let's be honest. If your mind runs your life, if your thoughts dictate your actions, your moods, your energy, then you're not in charge. You're not a leader. You're a follower of your own chaos. And in that state, you're not dangerous. You're predictable. You're impulsive. You're easy to provoke, easy to distract, easy to beat. That's all you need to know. To realize this is a trap you must escape. And the way out: stillness, brutal, disciplined stillness. Not 5 seconds of silence while the microwave runs. Not meditation with lo-fi beats and a candle. I mean this: sit down. No music. No phone. No scrolling. Just you, and your breath. At first, your mind will rebel. It'll throw fits. It'll scream for stimulation. It'll dig up every past mistake, every future fear, every unfinished task. It'll tempt you with distractions. It'll beg you to move. But if you hold your ground, if you just watch, without reacting, something profound starts to happen. You begin to understand. I am not my thoughts. I am the one observing them. And that shift, that realization, it is everything. This is what the Stoics called detachment. It wasn't coldness. It was clarity. Marcus Aurelius called it clearing out the impressions. Every morning, before ruling an empire, he trained his mind to strip away emotions, assumptions, illusions, to see life exactly as it is. Not worse than it is, not better than it is. Just as it is. That's what made him unshakable. Not because life was easy, not because he was emotionless, but because he trained daily to see reality without distortion. A truly dangerous man, he's not the loudest in the room. He's not the fastest with words. He's not the most aggressive. He's the one who can sit in complete silence, hear the chaos of his own mind, feel the rise of emotion, and still move with precision. His feelings don't drive his decisions. He uses them, like tools. His thoughts don't cloud his path, they light it. And here's a bitter truth. If you can't sit alone in a room for 10 minutes, without checking your phone, without needing background noise, without reaching for something to do, then you are not in control. You are being managed by your impulses, by your fears, by your habits. Want to flip the script? Make this a non-negotiable habit. Start your day in silence. No laptop, no podcast, no scrolling, no caffeine-fueled chaos. Just you, breathing, observing, clearing. Because clarity begins where noise ends. And if you can command the morning, you can command your day. In the next chapter, we'll explore how the man who commands stillness also learns to command his emotions, turning even fear, anger, and pain into sharpened instruments for growth. Stillness sharpens. Action proves. After you've reclaimed your stillness, you'll start to notice something strange but powerful. Your thoughts begin to move differently. They become clearer, faster, sharper. You stop reacting to everything. You start noticing patterns, subtle cues, hidden motives, emotional shifts in people that others are too noisy to catch. You'll say less, but when you do speak, people will listen. Why? Because your words won't be cheap. They'll be earned, tempered in silence, forged by thought. And here's the paradox. The man who talks the most is usually the one who's trying to prove something. But the one who masters silence, he's the one everyone feels, even before he speaks. The one who's already shut up is the one they instinctively respect. So build spaces in your day where your mind can rest. No noise. No screens. Just breath and awareness. Over time, these moments will sharpen you. They'll give your mind room to reset, recalibrate, and reconnect with your center. They don't just calm your nervous system. They do something deeper. They teach you to become still and dangerous. Now, it's time to level up. Think like a warrior, not a student. Because knowing things, that's not power. Power is in application, execution, embodied truth. You can read every book on Stoicism, but if your heart races in traffic, if your anger flares in an argument, if your fear paralyzes you when it's time to act, then it's just trivia. Epictetus, born a slave, became a teacher of emperors. He said it bluntly: don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Don't just quote wisdom. Don't wear it like a badge. Take it on like armor. Test it like a weapon. Most guys, they're proud of how many books they've read, how many classes they've taken, how many quotes they can drop in a conversation. That's great for ego, but it's useless in a storm. Knowledge without pressure testing is just mental decoration. You're not a philosopher until you can live it in tension, until you can hold your ground in conflict, make decisions under fire, and lead when clarity is rare. A child learns to memorize. A warrior learns to respond. That's the shift from accumulating to applying, from collecting knowledge to commanding reality with it. Hammer and wrench emoji. In the next chapter, we'll explore what it truly means to train your mind like a warrior, to go beyond inspiration and step into mental combat, where every belief is tested and every weakness is exposed. Train your mind like a fighter, not a philosopher. You don't strengthen a muscle by thinking about it. You don't sharpen a blade by keeping it in a box. And you don't train the mind by reading about peace. You train it like a boxer trains his body, with resistance, with tension, with pressure, over and over again. Want to learn how to stay calm under fire? Don't read about patience. Try keeping your cool when someone insults you for no reason, when someone disrespects you in public, when you're misunderstood, misjudged, or mistreated, and you choose stillness anyway. That's training. Want to learn bravery? Don't wait for confidence. Make a decision when the outcome is unknown. Take the leap with shaking hands. That's courage. That's not theory. That's real-time growth. Want to build strength? Keep walking when your mind screams quit. Keep showing up when you're tired, anxious, alone. Push forward, not because you feel strong, but because you've trained yourself to act anyway. That's mental fitness. Growth doesn't happen in seminars. It doesn't live in quotes. It doesn't show up when you're comfortable. It lives in the fight. Marcus Aurelius didn't write meditations from a quiet library. He wrote during wars, during plagues, amid betrayals, and after burying his own children. He ruled the Roman Empire while enduring the very storms his philosophy prepared him for. He didn't just read about Stoicism. He breathed it in the chaos. And that's why his words matter. That's why they still echo through time. He wrote, "Don't waste any more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." That wasn't a suggestion. That was a command. But most guys forget this. Life is not a classroom. It's a battleground. And on the battleground, knowing is nothing. Doing is everything. You don't win because you've memorized Seneca. You win because Seneca shows up in your actions. When you're about to snap, about to quit, about to break. You don't become Stoic by collecting ideas. You become Stoic by embedding them into your operating system. That means sweat with the ideas, fail with them, apply them, especially when it's ugly, especially when it's hard, especially when your emotions are louder than your thoughts. Don't just talk about Seneca. Use him when anger rises. Don't just quote Marcus Aurelius. Recall him when your plans fall apart. When control slips through your fingers. Don't just admire Epictetus. Channel him when your emotions beg you to react. Every time you apply Stoicism in real life, your mental software rewrites itself. You're no longer just remembering the lessons. You're becoming them. Your clarity grows. Your reactions slow. Your wisdom becomes automatic under pressure. Not because life got easier, but because your mind got sharper. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to make this kind of mental training part of your daily operating system, so that when pressure comes, you don't collapse. You respond like a weapon that's been built for this. Think like a fighter. Guard your mind like a fortress. Here's the truth most men miss. This mindset, this way of moving through life, is dangerous. Because while other people are still overthinking, still doubting, still Googling answers and scrolling for motivation, you're already moving. You've trained your instincts. You've sharpened your perception. You don't need a hype video to act. You don't need to get in the mood to move. You've written your own code. And now you live it. You're not learning Stoicism anymore. You are Stoicism. In motion. In flesh. In fight. So stop asking yourself, am I learning enough? Start asking, am I doing enough with what I know? Do you collect tools and leave them on the shelf? Or do you swing the hammer, again and again, until the job gets done? Do you study life? Or do you engage it like a warrior, with scars, sweat, and steel? Because warriors don't think like students. They think like fighters. They act on principle. They trust their training. And now it's time you did too. Chapter 4, Kill weak thoughts before they grow. This is a rule, not a suggestion. A rule for survival. The Stoics said it clearly, you are not your thoughts. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. Just like a soldier defends a fortress, you must guard your mind, because thoughts, small ones, soft ones, even whispers, can reshape your entire world. But only if you allow them in. Fear, anger, self-pity, resentment. These thoughts don't knock at your door and demand control. They slip in, quietly, casually. They pretend they're harmless. And if you don't stop them, they take root. They grow. Imagine a garden. Let weeds grow long enough, and they choke out every strong plant. They kill beauty. They kill growth. It's the same with your mind. One undisciplined thought, left alone, can rot your entire system. Seneca said it perfectly. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Read that again. Most of your emotional pain, it doesn't come from what's actually happening. It comes from what might happen, from what could have been, from stories you rehearse over and over in your head. That argument, that mistake, that regret, that future failure you haven't even faced yet. Most men, they live in those stories. They feed their fears. They water their worries, until those shadows grow so big, they can't move anymore. Not because something real is holding them back, but because they let weak thoughts grow into monsters. The weak man, he lets those voices stay. Fear, jealousy, self-pity. He invites them in like guests, lets them whisper lies, and over time, they take over. But the dangerous man, he catches those thoughts early, and kills them. Not with panic, not with shame, but with discipline. He hears the fear, and answers it with logic. He sees the anger, and replaces it with clarity. He catches the self-pity, and burns it with action. Because he understands, you don't control which thoughts arrive, but you do control which ones you let stay. In the next chapter, we'll break down how to build this kind of mental discipline, so your mind becomes a fortress where only truth and clarity are allowed to live. Clean the mental battlefield. Command the inner war. Here's what separates the dangerous man from everyone else. He refuses to let his mind become a home for weakness. He doesn't decorate his thoughts with pity. He doesn't entertain fear. He doesn't host endless loops of what-ifs, maybe-laters, Or why me's? Instead, he interrogates every thought like a ruthless commander. When a thought walks in, he doesn't just let it settle on the couch and make itself comfortable. No, he stands at the mental doorway and asks, does this thought make sense? Does it help me right now? Does this align with the kind of man I'm becoming? If the answer isn't a sharp yes, that thought dies. Right there. No mercy. This isn't about toxic positivity. It's not about pretending life is fine when it's not. It's about taking responsibility for what you allow to live in your mind, because every thought you feed becomes stronger, and every one you ignore, it withers. You wouldn't feed a stray dog that bites you. Why would you feed thoughts that sabotage you? So when the negativity comes, and it always does, flip the script. Don't let it spiral. Redirect it. Swap it for a plan, a truth, a principle. A quote from Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus. A reminder of the pain you've survived. A flash of your future self. Strong, centered, unshaken. Epictetus said it clearly, no man is free who is not master of himself. Read that again. Let it burn. Freedom starts inside, not in your bank account, not in your reputation, in your mind. And that mastery, it's forged in quiet, internal battles, the ones nobody sees, but that shape everything you do. Because when negative thoughts are allowed to stay, they drain you. They drain your energy, your focus, your willpower. They eat away at your self-belief like rust. And the worst part? You often don't even realize it's happening. You just feel tired, foggy, unmotivated. But beneath it all, those unchecked thoughts are running the show. So what do? You fight. Not once, not twice, but every single day. You train yourself to detect them fast, to question them ruthlessly, to replace them powerfully, because a man who can command his thoughts is a man who can command everything else. In the next chapter, we'll dig into how your emotions respond to thoughts like fuel to fire, and how to master the emotional chain reaction before it burns your life down. Fortify the mind. Destroy weakness before it spreads. Picture your mind like a fortress, a castle, high walls, iron gates, deep chambers. And every thought, every single one, is either a guest or an intruder. And here's the truth, you're the one who decides who stays. Weak thoughts, they don't knock, they sneak in. They disguise themselves as familiar voices. They wear the cloak of your past mistakes, your old doubts, your unhealed wounds. And if you're not careful, they don't just linger, they sabotage, they break down your inner resolve, they chip away at your confidence. And they do it quietly. But strong thoughts, those are your soldiers, trained, grounded, unshakable. They defend your purpose. They remind you who you are when the world tries to make you forget. They don't whisper fear, they speak truth, even when it's uncomfortable. But let's be real. This kind of mental vigilance, it's not easy. Especially in the beginning. Negative thoughts will still find a way in. They slip through the cracks like thieves in the night, wearing the face of worry, regret, and self-doubt. You'll catch yourself overthinking that one conversation, doubting that one goal, replaying that one failure. That's normal. But what matters is what you do next. And here's the rule. The moment you realize a thought is harmful, treat it like an intruder. Face it, question it, evict it. Ask, is this helping me grow? Is this fear even real? Would the man I want to become entertain this? And if the answer is no, then it doesn't belong. Not even for one more second. This isn't about ignoring your emotions. This is about emotional hygiene. And it's just as crucial as lifting weights or eating clean. You wouldn't eat spoiled food, or wear the same clothes for a month. So why let toxic thoughts sit in your mind, day after day, rotting your self-belief? You need a mental cleaning ritual, daily, consistent, non-negotiable. And here's the reward. When you do this often enough, your brain starts to rewire itself. You'll begin to respond with clarity instead of panic, with focus instead of distraction, with purpose instead of fear. Your mindset shifts from I can't to how can I, from what if I fail, to what if I succeed, from helpless loops to strategic thinking. That's the power of this practice. And that's exactly what the Stoics did every day. Marcus Aurelius, in the middle of war and grief, wrote not to inspire others, but to train his mind. Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears. What does that mean? It means you get to decide what breaks you and what builds you. Even while leading an empire, burying his children, watching people betray him, Marcus didn't drown in emotion. He clarified it, and that clarity made him unstoppable. You have to do the same. Kill weak thoughts before they grow. Don't wait for them to become your identity. Catch them at the door. Train your mind to fight back with reason, not rage, not noise, reason. In the next chapter, we'll break down the two most dangerous mental traps men fall into, and how to break free from the loops that quietly destroy your momentum. Train monastic focus in a world that profits from your distraction. Here's what most men forget. You can have all the ambition in the world, but if you can't focus, you're swinging a sword with no edge. And that's exactly what the world wants. Because the weaker your attention becomes, the easier you are to control. Your mind is your most powerful weapon. Sharpen it, protect it, never let it rust. Don't load it with mental blanks. Don't stuff it with noise and mindless scrolling. Keep it clean. Keep it loaded with precision. Keep it dangerous. Rule 5. Build monastic focus in a noisy world. Let's look at Marcus Aurelius. He ruled one of the greatest empires in history, dealt with war, betrayal, plagues, politics, and still he carved out time every single day to write, to reflect, to focus. Why? Because he understood a truth most men today ignore. If you don't control your attention, the world will, and not gently. It will hijack your thoughts, scatter your energy, and sell your focus to the highest bidder. Now fast forward to today. This world, it's 100x louder, 100x faster, 100x more addicted to distraction. Notifications flash like alarms. Endless feeds drown you in other people's lives. Outrage bait pulls you into emotional traps. Your attention, your most valuable currency, is under constant attack. This isn't a glitch. This is by design. Every distraction is a silent thief, chipping away at your edge, dividing your mind into 1,000 shallow fragments, until you can't focus for more than 20 seconds, without checking your phone. But here's your power. You can fight back. You can train something the Stoics would recognize instantly. Monastic focus, a form of attention so grounded, so sharp, so intentional, that it cuts through noise like a blade. It's not natural, it's trained, forged in practice, built in silence. Think of your focus like a muscle. If you don't use it, it becomes soft, flabby, weak, easily pulled in every direction. But if you train it, if you test it under pressure, it becomes a weapon. You'll be able to lock in, dial out the noise, and execute with clarity, even while the world burns around you. So how do you start? Step 1. Silence the chaos. Go into your phone. Turn off every alert that isn't mission critical. No Instagram buzz. No group chat pings. No breaking news. Let the world scream without you. Silence is your advantage. Because when the world is built to distract you, the man who can still focus becomes unstoppable. The world loses power over you the moment you stop needing to react to it. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper. How to build rituals and daily habits that keep your mind sharp, your energy contained, and your mission clear. Master deep work. Multiply your power. Let's get something straight. It's not that you don't have time, it's that you're leaking it, and you don't even realize it. Every scroll, every tap, every just checking is a thief dressed like leisure. It doesn't steal your time all at once, it bleeds it out drop by drop, until you look back at your day and wonder where it went. But here's the truth, it's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Seneca. So if you want to become dangerously effective, you must declare war on distraction. Not just kind of, not maybe later, now. With precision. Build an environment that works for you, not against you. Set hard boundaries on how much time you give social media. And yes, you do need to set a timer. You're not stronger than the algorithm. Design a space that screams focus. No clutter. No noise. No chaos. A desk. A pen. A goal. That's your battleground. Tell your people. Let your family and friends know, when I'm in focus mode, do not disturb me unless it's urgent. Make it clear, Make it non-negotiable. Then comes the real game changer. Deep work time. You don't need 8 hours. You don't even need 4. You need 30 minutes. That's it. 30 minutes of full, undistracted, locked-in effort. No checking email. No replying to texts. No switching tabs. No background noise. Just you, your mind, and the mission. Do this every day. You will do more in half an hour than most people do in an entire distracted day. Why? Because they're not thinking. They're reacting. They're jumping from screen to screen, task to task, thought to thought, like someone flipping TV channels in the middle of an emergency. But the man who can sit still and attack one thing at a time, that man becomes a weapon. Deep focus rewires your brain. It increases memory, improves decision-making, boosts creativity, and it builds something rare, mental stamina. You'll start to notice things others miss. You'll finish things others only start. You'll start to see solutions clearly, because your mind is no longer clouded. And here's the bonus: a focused mind doesn't just get things done. It commands respect. When you speak, people listen. When you act, people notice. When you move, there's no hesitation, because clarity is magnetic. You become the kind of person who doesn't second guess. You see, decide, execute. That's why focus isn't just a productivity hack. It's a power move, a social signal, a presence. Brain emoji. In the next chapter, we'll explore the connection between physical energy and mental power, and how to turn your body into a source of unstoppable drive and clarity. Focus sharpens you. Pattern recognition elevates you. Let's pick up where we left off. Deep focus doesn't just help you get more done. It does something far more important. It makes you present fully, intentionally. It cuts through the fog of distraction like a blade. And when your mind becomes that sharp, you stop chasing. You start seeing. That's what Marcus Aurelius understood. Even in the middle of wars, betrayals, and plagues, he made time, every day, to sit, to write, to reflect. Not because he had time, but because focus was how he built clarity when the world tried to steal it from him. And that's your weapon too. Focus is rebellion. In a world obsessed with doing more, you slow down, see deeper, and move smarter. Fire emoji. Rule 6, study patterns, not just facts. Most guys, they're collectors. Books emoji. They hoard quotes. Brain emoji. Memorize dates. Bar chart emoji. Recite numbers. It's impressive at first glance, but it's surface level, because knowing facts isn't power. Seeing how they fit together is. Real intelligence isn't about trivia. It's about pattern recognition. It's being able to say, this looks familiar. I've seen this play out before. I know what's coming next. That's the man people trust. The one who sees what others miss. Chart with downwards trend emoji. In business, he spots the storm before it hits. Red heart emoji. In relationships, he notices the red flags before they explode. Boxing glove emoji. In conflict, he anticipates moves before they're made. Why? Because he's watching what matters, not what people say, but what they do. Epictetus, a slave who rose to become one of Rome's greatest minds, put it simply: don't listen to their words. Watch their behavior. Because words, they're cheap, they bend, they lie. But actions leave fingerprints. A person's values, fears, motives, they all show up in their habits. You don't need to guess who someone is. Just watch what they do repeatedly. Do they bail when things get hard? Do they chase validation like oxygen? Do they show up for others when it's inconvenient? Patterns don't lie. They reveal. The dangerously smart man studies behavior like a scientist. He doesn't take things at face value. He looks at patterns over time. In business, he tracks momentum shifts, market psychology, behavioral cycles. In life, he watches for loyalty patterns, avoidance cues, rising tension. In himself, he observes what derails him, what triggers him, what habits build him. Facts give you snapshots. Patterns give you the movie. Here's the thing: Once you master pattern recognition, you no longer need to guess. You can forecast, and when you can forecast, you can lead. You can step into any room, any situation, and read it like a chessboard. Because while most men are reacting to the moment, you're thinking 5 moves ahead. In the next chapter, we'll talk about emotional resilience, how to maintain clarity even under pressure, and how to train your nervous system to stay steady. When everything around you starts to shake from observation to strategy, the power of pattern recognition. This is why real understanding, not surface knowledge, not data collection, but true strategic intelligence, requires more than memory. It demands focus, patience, curiosity. If you want to be dangerously smart, you can't just read people's words. You must study their reactions. Watch how they move when they're frustrated, how their voice shifts when they're questioned, what their hands do when they're lying. You'll see it. The micro patterns, the subtle rhythms, the tiny tells they don't even realize they're showing. It's like piecing together a jigsaw puzzle. Each small behavior, a flicker of the eye, a shift in posture, a pause before a sentence, is a piece. At first, it means nothing. But if you stay present long enough, you begin to see the picture. Ask yourself, what's repeating here? What emotion always shows up in these moments? What's the rule hiding beneath the surface of this chaos? The moment you start asking those questions, you stop being reactive, and you start being responsible. Instead of being blindsided by people or problems, you begin to predict. You sense storms before the clouds form. You recognize lies before they're spoken. You prepare before others even realize there's a threat. That's what separates men who constantly get caught off guard from those who move with calculated clarity. Let's look at a few examples. In business, companies that overpromise and underdeliver, they lose customer trust over and over again. It's not just a fluke, it's a pattern. Watch how it plays out in tech startups that launch half-baked products, in influencers who fake results they can't sustain, in leaders who say trust me without building anything trustworthy. Once you spot that pattern, you know what not to do. You build differently. You deliver with discipline, not hype. Red heart emoji. In relationships, the same thing happens. Some people jump from partner to partner, repeating the same behaviors: jealousy, fear, dependency, different faces, same dynamic, until you stop and say, wait, this looks familiar. Only then can you interrupt the cycle. Only then can you start building healthier bonds based on awareness, not emotion alone. Pattern recognition is what allows you to move from reactive living to proactive leading. You're no longer fighting the same battles over and over. You're stepping back, seeing the terrain, and asking, what keeps happening here? And how do I change it? You become a strategist. You're not just living through the game. You're learning how it's played. In the next chapter, we'll take this even deeper. You'll learn how to control the battlefield inside your mind, how to dissect your own patterns, spot weaknesses before they sabotage you, and replace fragile habits with unbreakable focus. See the pattern. Master the game. When people negotiate, argue, or get emotional, they think they're being spontaneous. But if you pay close attention, you'll realize most reactions are predictable. Anger flares in the same spots. Ego rises at the same threats. Insecurity speaks the same lines. It's not chaos. It's rhythm. It's pattern. And when you can see that, you stop reacting like everyone else. You start choosing your response with precision. Marcus Aurelius said it best: the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. In other words, reality is fluid, and your mind must learn to flow with it, not freeze, not flinch. Pattern recognition isn't just an intellectual tool. It's a way of aligning your perception with the reality of constant change. Instead of getting stuck in symptoms, you go straight to the root. You stop chasing drama. You stop falling for emotional bait. You begin to control causes, instead of constantly reacting to effects. That shift, it changes everything. Your brain stops being a sponge for noise. It becomes a radar for clarity. You start seeing moves before they happen. You dodge traps before they close. You sense shifts in energy. You identify opportunity while others are still panicking. That's the edge. You don't just live through life, you shape it. Your awareness becomes a quiet force, always scanning, always processing, always adjusting. And here's the real breakthrough: your mind transitions from being a passenger to becoming a driver. You're no longer reacting to circumstances. You're creating momentum. You're not just trying to win arguments. You're planning campaigns. This is the mark of the strategist, the person who doesn't just learn. They forecast. Want to sharpen this skill? Make this your daily practice. Step back before you step in. Whenever you face tension, before you respond, pause and ask, what's really happening here? Strip away the noise. Look for the engine underneath the surface. Then zoom in on yourself. Are you falling into old traps? Do you freeze when under pressure? Do you lash out when ignored? Do you seek comfort in self-doubt or distraction? These aren't flaws. They're clues. They're patterns. And once you name them, you can change them. You see, most people walk through life blind to themselves. But the man who watches his own patterns becomes dangerous in the best way possible. Why? Because when you understand your programming, you can rewrite the code. You become the architect of your inner world, not a slave to your past. And here's the reward: you stop seeing chaos. You see structure. You stop feeling overwhelmed. You feel equipped. You stop blaming the world, and start building within it. That mindset, it will make you more powerful than any amount of information ever could. It's the difference between memorizing maps and knowing how to navigate. In the next chapter, we go from mental clarity to emotional mastery. Because no matter how sharp your mind is, if your emotions are undisciplined, you'll still be pulled off course. Let's learn how to stay cool under pressure, and unshakable in the fire. The power of an empty mind, machine and Stoic detachment. Let's move from recognizing patterns in the world to mastering the one battlefield that matters most, your inner space. 7. Embrace the empty mind state. Centuries before modern psychology gave it a name, the samurai cultivated a mental state so clear, so focused. They called it machine, meaning no mind. But don't misunderstand. This isn't about zoning out or forgetting who you are. Machine isn't emptiness from lack. It's emptiness from clutter. A mind stripped of fear, stripped of ego, stripped of overthinking and hesitation. In machine, the warrior becomes awareness itself. Every sound is noticed, every movement absorbed, every decision made without flinch or delay. It's not a trance, it's not numbness, it's a state of complete clarity and calm precision. A paradox: empty, but fully alive. The Stoics understood this too, long before they ever heard of samurai. Marcus Aurelius wrote it again and again in his Meditations. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's not indifference, that's detachment. Not escaping life, but being so present, so mentally grounded, that nothing owns you. Picture this: you're in the middle of chaos, a confrontation, a betrayal, a painful loss. Most people panic. Their minds spin like leaves in a storm. Fear takes the wheel. Ego starts talking. Doubt throws its weight around. But the trained mind, it stays still. It observes, without grabbing. It listens, without reacting. It acts, without delay. This is the power of machine and Stoic clarity. It's the reason a samurai could walk into battle with peace in his chest. It's the reason Marcus could rule an empire at war without losing himself. They trained their minds not just to think, but to let go. They learned how to drop the weight of what they couldn't control, and sharpen their awareness to what they could. That's how they moved through fire, without burning in that empty mind state. You're not clinging to past mistakes. You're not fantasizing or catastrophizing the future. You're not trying to impress anyone or prove anything. You're simply here, fully present, fully precise, able to see emotion without being swallowed by it, able to move with clarity while others freeze. This is where true action lives, not in panic, but in poise, not in haste, but in mastery. Want to tap into this? Then practice stillness before strategy. Before you reply, before you decide, before you explode. Pause. Let go of noise. Ask yourself, what's happening right now, without my emotions added? The first time. It may take you minutes. Over time, it'll take you seconds. Eventually, it'll take you nothing at all. It'll just be who you are. A mind like water, calm, deep, and ready to reflect or strike. This isn't about being passive. It's about becoming undisturbed. It's about turning inward to the eye of the storm. So you can move through life like a blade, clean, precise, and unstoppable. In the next chapter, we take this further, because once you've embraced mental stillness, the next step is just as crucial, using discipline to guard your time like a fortress. Let's talk about how to protect the most valuable resource you have, your attention, the empty mind, your greatest weapon against chaos. When you enter the state of mental stillness, you begin to disconnect, not just from the noise of the world, but from the chaos inside yourself. You're no longer reacting to every ping, every opinion, every emotional spike. Instead, you're centered, rooted. Seneca said it with timeless clarity: a wise man lives in harmony with nature and with himself. He doesn't fight reality. He doesn't argue with what is. He acts only when action is useful, not because he's passive, but because he understands what's within his power, and what's not. This state of being isn't reached by accident. It's not given. It's earned. And it's earned through practice, daily, deliberate, and often uncomfortable. Just like strength in the body, strength in the mind must be trained. Mindfulness, meditation, breath control. These are not spiritual luxuries. They are practical, sharpened disciplines, tools that quiet the inner noise, the doubt, the fear, the ego that constantly demands attention. Try this, when you sit in silence. Picture your thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky. You don't fight them. You don't follow them. You just watch. And the more you watch, the more power they lose. Your fear, just a cloud. Your anger, another cloud. The mind learns, slowly at first, that you are not your thoughts. You are the sky. They are just passing weather. This is the true core of Stoic strength. Epictetus taught it plainly: it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it. That one idea holds more power than any motivational speech ever could. When your mind is calm, you stop reacting based on emotion, and you start responding with clarity. No more snapping back in anger. No more collapsing into fear. No more over-explaining just to be understood. You don't need to be loud. You need to be accurate. And here's the power move. When you stop letting feelings run your decisions, you become unpredictable, not chaotic, controlled. People can't manipulate a man who doesn't flinch. They can't bait someone who doesn't need approval. They can't dominate someone who doesn't enter their game. Because instead of reacting, you are watching, and only striking when it matters. This is why the empty mind is dangerous. Because it doesn't freeze, it doesn't explode, it calculates. Now imagine the effect that has on your relationships, on your decisions, on your presence. You become a storm wrapped in silence, a force that doesn't seek attention, but commands it the moment you act. You're no longer the man who's always rushing, always explaining, always apologizing. You're the one who observes first and acts second, with precision. And here's where it gets even more powerful. Because when you've cleared your mind and trained it to stay calm, you unlock the ability to direct your attention where it matters most. That's what we'll explore in the next chapter: how to master your focus in a world addicted to noise. Clear your mind, the mental skill that makes you unshakable. In a world full of noise, distraction, and emotional overdrive, a calm, clear mind is no longer just helpful, it's rare and dangerously valuable. When everything around you falls apart, when everyone else is panicking, doubting, reacting, the one who remains still, the one who can think clearly in chaos, is the one who rises. But let's be honest, clarity doesn't just show up. It's not some gift handed to you in a quiet moment. It's a skill, a mental muscle, and like any muscle, it needs daily training. Start small. Right now, this week, Just give yourself a few quiet minutes each morning. No music. No phone. No scrolling. Just your breath. Feel the inhale. Feel the exhale. And when your mind drifts, because it will, gently bring it back. Again and again. This is where power begins. Over time, you'll start to notice something strange. The fear that used to control your reactions, it starts to fade. The doubt that once paralyzed your decisions, it loses its grip. The ego that screamed for validation, it grows quiet. You don't become empty in a weak sense. You become clear. You stop being pulled by every emotion, and you start being led by strategy. Your real mind, the one that plans, observes, and executes with calm precision, finally takes the lead. And here's a truth most people miss. Becoming smarter doesn't mean stuffing your brain with more. It means cutting through the noise. It means making space for clear thought, for decisive action. Your power isn't in your memory. It's in your clarity. You can't just think this way. You have to live this way. Every reaction becomes a choice. Every moment becomes a test of discipline. That's what mental strength is. Choosing your response, instead of being dragged around by instincts, habits, or moods. The man who can do this, who can breathe while the room spins, who can pause while everyone reacts, who can see when others are blind with emotion, that man is useful, calm, and dangerous. Not because he's aggressive, but because he's unshakable. And this power, it doesn't come from others. It comes from one place. A standard that you set for yourself. And that leads us into the next idea, the ruthless internal code that separates the ordinary from the unbreakable. Set a ruthless internal standard, the code that makes you unbreakable. The most dangerous man in the room is not the loudest, not the one with the biggest audience, or the sharpest resume. It's the one who lives by a code so deep, so sharp, that nothing outside of him can shake it. His strength, it's not borrowed from applause. It's not fed by followers. It doesn't rise and fall with praise or rejection. It comes from within. That's what makes him different. The average man seeks validation. He adjusts to please. He folds under pressure. But the dangerous man, he's calibrated from the inside out. He sets his own standard. And it's not flexible. His rules, non-negotiable, clear, unforgiving. They guide his choices, sharpen his behavior, and mold his thinking, not to be perfect, but to be honest with himself, especially when no one's watching. So stop and ask yourself, what is your code? What principles shape your daily decisions? When it's quiet, when you're alone, when the world isn't looking, do you let yourself off the hook when things get uncomfortable? Do you make excuses that even you know are weak? Or would your harshest critic still respect the discipline you live by? Because here's the truth. When your values are internal, your mind becomes bulletproof. No insult pierces, no setback breaks, no temptation distracts. Why? Because you're not chasing approval. You're not waiting to be rewarded. You've already set the bar, and it's higher than anything the world could place on you. As Seneca once said, no wind is favorable to the man who doesn't know which port he sails to. Your internal standard, your code, is that port. It's the compass you follow when the storm comes. Without it, you drift. You get pulled by temptation, by comparison, by impulse. With it, you move with clarity. You walk with purpose. You become unshakable. But here's the part no one tells you. Setting this code requires pain, discomfort, sacrifice. It means saying no when it would be easy to say yes. It means rejecting shortcuts. It means looking in the mirror and demanding more from yourself. Not because the world expects it, but because you do. You become your own coach, your own commander, your own fiercest competitor. And when that happens, your confidence doesn't waver, your power doesn't fluctuate, and your mind doesn't break under pressure, it sharpens. This isn't about pretending to be perfect. It's about becoming consistent, holding yourself accountable at a level that few others even attempt. And that consistency, that's the edge that separates the exceptional from the ordinary. Now, let's go deeper, because it's not enough to set the standard. You have to defend it. Coming up next, how to build the daily rituals that protect your discipline, and turn your code into action. The ruthless standard that builds you, and the consistency that keeps you there. That ruthless inner standard, it's not just a mindset, it's a forge. And every time you live by it, especially when no one is watching, you're reforging your brain, rewiring your mind, redefining who you are. You stop living in reaction. You stop dancing to the chaos of the world. You become deliberate. You stop asking, "What's happening to me?" and start asking, "What am I choosing to do with this?" The shift is quiet, but powerful. You rise above panic. You stay grounded when others lose control. You walk into the room, and without saying a word, you set the tone, because you've already set the standard. And here's the reality. The world respects you exactly as much as you respect yourself. Not because you demand it, not because you chase it, but because it's written in how you carry yourself, in how you speak, in the decisions you make when nobody's clapping, in how you handle pressure when nobody's watching. Bring your standard with you wherever you go. Let it speak louder than your voice. Let it be the silent force that shifts the energy in the room. Some people will rise to meet you. Others will fall away. Let them. That kind of self-respect doesn't just make you intelligent. It makes you dangerous, because your mind becomes resilient. Your will becomes impenetrable, and your very presence begins to carry weight, not from arrogance, but from alignment, from living every day by the code you wrote and refused to break. True strength isn't how loud you are in the spotlight. It's how silently and relentlessly you stick to your principles in the dark. That's what real power looks like. That's what a truly formidable man becomes. And here's the secret. It doesn't come from big, flashy moments. It comes from small, invisible acts done daily. That leads us to the next principle, the one that transforms your power from a spark into a flame that never dies out. Coming up next, Lesson 9, Harness the Power of Consistency. Lesson 9, Harness the Power of Consistency. Do not do what is wrong. Do not say what is false. That's what Marcus Aurelius told himself, not as some lofty quote to impress people, but as a daily command, a principle to be lived, every hour, every choice, every breath. This isn't about performing perfection. It's about practicing discipline consistently, not just in the big things, but in the smallest behaviors most people dismiss today. Real consistency is rare. We live in a world addicted to speed, quick hacks, instant rewards, shortcuts that promise success with no sacrifice. But the truth, dangerous intelligence isn't built in sprints. It's built in reps, repetitions of resolve, habits that don't rely on motivation. They run on discipline. The man who shows up every single day, especially when he doesn't feel like it, is the man whose mind becomes unshakable, because each act of consistency is another brick in your mental fortress. It's saying, I don't need inspiration to act. I don't need validation to keep going. I don't negotiate with weakness. What does consistency really look like? It's carving out time every single day, to sit in silence, to think deeply, to breathe, to reflect. It's scanning your thoughts like a security gate, catching weak ideas before they infect your focus. It's turning wisdom into action, not someday, not when it's convenient, but today. Every day. And something incredible happens when you do this. The brain rewires. Your focus becomes laser sharp. Your emotional control increases. You move through situations with calm precision. Most people crumble under pressure. You won't, because you've trained for it. This is mental conditioning. Each moment of discipline compounds. Each morning of clarity stacks. Each evening of reflection builds. And suddenly, without realizing it, you begin to operate on a level that others can't understand, and frankly, can't reach. But don't expect it to be easy. Consistency means fighting the world's noise. It means ignoring the dopamine drip of distractions. It means choosing depth over comfort, substance over speed, purpose over popularity. You don't build a legendary mind with bursts of energy. You build it with discipline over time. So ask yourself, what habits am I reinforcing today? Are they sharpening me or softening me? Consistency is not about perfection. It's about loyalty to your code, to your training, to the man you're becoming. And that brings us to one of the deepest lessons yet. It's not about building your mind. It's about facing your pain and turning it into power. Let's talk about that next in Lesson 10, Use your pain as fuel. Lesson 9, continued. Consistency is the silent power that builds legends. Let's be clear. Real progress, the kind that changes your life, doesn't happen overnight. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't announce itself with applause. It's quiet. It's slow. It's relentless. You'll have days when it feels like nothing is working, like you're spinning your wheels, like the world is moving while you're stuck. But if you keep going, if you persist even when no one's watching, no one's clapping, and nothing seems to be changing, you are building something unshakable. And that's the kind of strength that becomes unstoppable. Because consistency isn't just about showing up. It's about becoming. Every repetition, every disciplined choice, is a quiet vote for the person you're turning into. You'll begin to notice it. You think more clearly, you stop overreacting, you focus longer, you decide faster, and you doubt less. That's not magic. That's training. We're not just chasing improvement here. We're crafting transformation, brick by brick, day by day. Together, we're building something dangerous. Not in rage, not in ego, but in mastery. We're not chasing hacks. We're chasing high performance. We're not chasing motivation. We're chasing mental control. The Stoics had it right from the beginning. Epictetus said it best. Men are not worried by real problems so much as by their imagined anxieties about real problems. And that's the truth. The world isn't what breaks you. It's the story you tell yourself about it. So train your mind, every single day, because no matter where you start, your clarity isn't fixed. Your focus isn't permanent. Your mind, it's your responsibility. And once you decide to truly master it, not just occasionally, but relentlessly, you become something different. You become the person people can't shake, the one they don't underestimate, the one whose silence says more than another's shouting. You become the most dangerous man in the room, because you've earned that mind. You don't have to scream to prove your strength. You don't have to show emotion to be respected. And you don't have to lose yourself to live in this world. The only thing you need is control your mind. Because when you master your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you become invincible. The Stoic philosophy is not for those who want quick results. It is for those who practice every day, and eventually, they become not only smarter, but also more dangerous. Bullseye emoji. If you want to become a silent warrior of the new era, click subscribe and stay with us. The next video will be the next breakthrough in your journey to upgrade your mind.